sequence primary ignition.
Chewie, get us out of here!
Fire the emergency booster engines!
We'll be safe enough once we make the jump to hyperspace.
At last, we will review more news on the podcast.
Don't strap yourselves in. I'm going to make a jump to light speed.
Welcome to Star Wars Launchpad, a new kind of podcast experience brought to you by Star Wars Escape Pod. We call this a Flashcast. Using the power of AI, we bring you an immersive experience to explore Star Wars news. Full AI disclosure, some details may not be fully accurate. Either way, we hope you enjoy the experimental deep dive ahead with your AI hosts, Dak and Mia.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Star Wars Launchpad. Today we're doing a deep dive into the world of Skeleton Crew.
Ooh, fun.
And taking a peek at the upcoming Star Wars celebration in Japan.
Awesome.
Skeleton Crew just finished its first season on Disney+.
Yeah, just wrapped up.
And, well, the hype is building for Celebration Japan.
Definitely.
It's happening in April.
Can't wait.
We've got some really interesting sources for you today.
No. Like what?
We've got interviews with the visual effects team behind Skeleton Crew.
Nice.
And a first look at the Celebration badge art.
Sweet.
We'll be talking about a record-breaking stop-motion creature.
No way.
The resurgence of matte painting in Star Wars.
You're kidding.
And some seriously cool ukiyo-e style badge art.
I am so there for all of this.
I think it's a really cool mix of like behind-the-scenes stuff on a new show. And a glimpse at how Star Wars is inspiring art and artists around the world.
Yeah, it's a really cool combination of sources.
So let's get started with Skeleton Crew. There's this Forbes article that argues that even though the show is really high quality, it's struggled to find an audience.
Interesting.
They're even saying it's the least watched Star Wars show so far.
Huh.
It makes you think about the future of Star Wars,
Yeah.
Especially when you look at the cost of these shows.
Yeah, that Forbes article had some interesting points about the challenges of creating new Star Wars content for Disney.
Right.
Especially stories that are outside of the Skywalker saga.
Exactly.
It really got me thinking about how these streaming giants define success,
Absolutely.
And they said the show cost $136 million,
Wow.
which is a pretty big price tag.
That's a lot of galactic credits.
Right?
I saw that The Acolyte is coming up.
Uh-huh.
And that one cost even more.
Really?
Yeah, over $200 million.
Wow, these productions are no joke.
Yeah, huge investments.
Big time.
So, but even with those concerns about viewership,
Yeah,
there's so much to celebrate about Skeleton Crew.
so for sure.
Especially the visuals. There's a great article on StarWars.com.
Okay.
And it talks about the team's efforts to combine practical effects with the latest tech.
Very cool.
Makes you wonder, are we seeing a return to those classic filmmaking techniques?
That is a great question. It's possible. I mean, think about it. They built a physical miniature of the hero ship, the Onyx Cinder.
Right.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and the StarWars.com article talks about how John Goodson built this super detailed model. And John Knoll, the visual effects supervisor,
Yeah.
he rigged a motion control camera system in his garage.
What? That's amazing.
It's like they took a page out of the original Star Wars playbook,
Totally.
embracing that DIY spirit.
Absolutely.
And get this, they didn't just stop there.
Oh, there's more.
They actually tweaked the digital model of the Onyx Cinder to match the paint job of the miniature.
Wow. Talk about attention to detail.
Right, but it's not just spaceships.
Whoa.
They went all out with the creatures too.
Okay, tell me more.
They brought in stop motion animation for a character called Mama Crab.
Mama Crab.
Or Tetna.
Yes.
Mama Crab is amazing.
I bet.
She's this imposing 30-foot tall creature, and they built her as a stop motion puppet.
Wow.
The detail work is incredible.
I can only imagine.
Her shell is covered in what they call greeblies.
Greebly.
Yeah, those little bits and pieces that give Star Wars its distinctive look.
Oh, yeah, right.
And they even hid some little Easter eggs in there.
No way. Like what?
Little parts of the Millennium Falcon and an Imperial Walker.
That's so cool.
It's those little touches that really make the world feel real.
Absolutely.
Like you're always discovering something new.
Definitely.
And they didn't just use practical effects for the big creatures either.
Oh, really?
They used them for some of the smaller characters too.
Interesting.
They used an animatronic head for the character Neil.
Neat.
And a Bunraku-style puppet for the droid SM-33.
Bunraku, what's that?
It's a traditional Japanese form of puppetry.
Oh,
It relies on these incredibly skilled puppeteers to bring the characters to life.
wow. So is it like really expressive?
Yeah, it's super tactile and expressive.
I wonder if they chose that because of the upcoming Star Wars celebration in Japan.
That's a really interesting connection.
Right.
Maybe they were trying to pay homage to the host country.
It's possible.
Speaking of Celebration Japan, let's talk about the badge art.
Yes.
StarWars.com just revealed the first batch.
Awesome.
And they're designed in the ukiyo-e style
Cool.
by a Japanese artist named Takumi.
Takumi.
Have you heard of ukiyo-e?
I think so. It's a genre of Japanese art, right?
Yeah.
Popular from like the 17th to 19th centuries.
Exactly.
And it's known for those woodblock prints and paintings.
Yeah.
They depict like landscapes, historical scenes, and samurai.
And get this.
What?
Takumi sees a strong connection between samurai and Jedi.
That makes sense.
He even mentions how influential Akira Kurosawa,
The filmmaker.
was on the original Star Wars films.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. Kurosawa's films were a huge inspiration for George Lucas.
Right.
Especially The Hidden Fortress. It's
Yeah.
like you can see the influence in how the Jedi and the Sith are portrayed.
Absolutely. So it's like a full circle moment with these badges.
Right.
Star Wars was inspired by Japanese cinema,
Huh?
and now a Japanese artist is bringing his own cultural perspective to Star Wars art.
Exactly.
And the badges themselves are stunning.
I bet.
They feature characters like Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Yoda, Ahsoka Tano,
Wow.
and even the Mandalorian with Grogu.
Oh, way.
And each one is rendered in this incredible ukiyo-e style,
That's amazing.
blending Star Wars characters with Japanese motifs and symbolism.
So
Oh,
cool.
and there are even more characters that were just announced.
Really? Who?
R2-D2 and C-3PO,
Awesome.
Queen Amidala,
Nice.
Sabine Wren,
Cool.
and Asajj Ventress.
Wow. They're all getting the ukiyo-e treatment.
I know. I can't wait to see how Takumi interprets them.
Me neither. It's going to be amazing to see those new designs.
He's a master of his craft.
Definitely.
And these badges are a testament to the global reach of Star Wars
Uh-huh.
and its ability to inspire artists all over the world.
It sounds like he really embraced the chance to work on these badges.
Yeah.
He'll be attending his first ever celebration in Japan.
Wow. That's awesome.
And he's so excited to share his artwork with other Star Wars fans.
That's really sweet.
It's a great reminder that Star Wars is more than just a movie franchise.
Totally.
It's a community,
It is.
a shared experience that brings people together from all walks of life.
Absolutely.
Before we move on, I have a question for you.
Okay, shoot.
What stood out to you the most about the Skeleton Crew visuals?
That's a good question.
What do you think about bringing back those classic filmmaking techniques?
Well, let me think for a sec. I think what's really impressive about Skeleton Crew is how they use those classic techniques to create a specific look and feel.
Yeah,
You know, it's not just nostalgia.
right.
It's about those choices they made to enhance the story they're telling. Yeah, I agree.
Like, take the stop-motion Mama Crab.
Uh-huh.
The article mentions how the creators wanted her to feel like she was cobbled together
Okay.
from all these different spare parts, like
Interesting.
something you'd find in a junkyard.
Makes sense.
And stop motion with all those little imperfections
Right.
and that tactile quality.
yeah.
It was perfect for that.
I see what you mean.
It adds a layer of believability
Yeah.
and texture that you wouldn't get with just CGI.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
It's like they're using those techniques to tell a very specific kind of story.
Uh-huh.
One that's rooted in that sense of adventure and discovery.
Totally.
It reminds me of the original Star Wars films,
Yeah.
when they used so many practical effects
Right?
to create that galaxy that felt lived in and real.
Exactly. There's a certain like tactile quality to those films.
Yes.
You feel like you could just reach out and touch the spaceships and creatures.
Totally.
And I think Skeleton Crew really captures some of that same magic.
It definitely feels like they were trying to tap into that spirit of the original trilogy.
For sure.
But you know, there's another element of Skeleton Crew that I found really intriguing.
What's that?
It actually ties into our discussion about Celebration Japan.
Oh, you mean the Bunraku puppet for the droid SM-33?
Yes. It's such a specific and unexpected choice,
It is.
especially for a Star Wars show.
Right.
And considering that Bunraku is a traditional Japanese art form,
Yeah.
it made me wonder if there's a deeper connection there.
Okay, I'm listening.
Like, were they foreshadowing the cultural themes that we see in the Celebration Japan badge art?
Oh, that's a really interesting thought.
Right.
It could be a subtle nod to the fact that Star Wars is this global phenomenon.
Yeah.
And different cultures can bring their own unique perspectives and traditions to the galaxy far, far away.
Exactly.
And it's not just puppetry either.
Oh, yeah. What else?
Remember how The Mandalorian used elements of samurai cinema?
Oh, right. In the action sequences.
Yeah.
I love that.
The way Din Djarin moves and fights,
Uh-huh.
it has a very samurai feel to it.
It totally does.
So maybe Skeleton Crew is kind of continuing that trend, you know?
Right.
Subtly weaving in these cultural influences to create a richer and more diverse Star Wars universe.
That ties in perfectly with what we see in the Celebration Japan badge art.
Right.
Takumi isn't just like translating Star Wars characters into a Japanese art style.
Yeah.
He's creating a dialogue between those two worlds.
Yeah.
He's finding the points of connection,
I see.
the shared themes and those archetypes.
Right.
And expressing them through the visuals of ukiyo-e.
It's like he's building a bridge between two cultures.
Yes.
Using art to create this shared experience.
That's a great way to put it.
So tell me more.
Let's dive into the specifics.
Okay.
How is Takumi using Japanese motifs and symbolism
Oh.
to enhance those Star Wars characters?
Well, let's look at Darth Vader.
Okay.
His badge shows cherry blossoms.
Interesting.
And in Japanese culture, they often symbolize the transient nature of life, but also beauty and renewal.
I see.
It's like a nod to Vader's own journey
Oh, wow.
from the darkness of the Sith
Uh-huh.
to his eventual redemption.
Wow. I never would have picked up on that.
Right.
It adds a whole new layer of meaning.
Exactly.
And then we have Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
His badge shows waves crashing against rocks,
Okay.
which could represent the challenges and turmoil he faces
Interesting.
on his journey to becoming a Jedi.
Yeah.
And the waves could also be seen as a symbol of change and transformation,
Makes sense.
much like Luke's own evolution throughout the saga.
It's amazing how those natural elements can say so much about a character's journey.
Right.
It's like a visual haiku.
Totally. And the symbolism isn't just in the backgrounds.
Oh, yeah.
Look at Ahsoka Tano's badge.
Okay.
She's wearing a flowing robe
Uh-huh.
that evokes the elegance of a kimono.
Interesting.
It's a subtle way of blending her Jedi heritage
Yeah,
with those elements of Japanese culture.
I like that.
And speaking of blending cultures,
Yeah.
the Mandalorian's armor has these subtle hints of samurai influence.
Cool.
It's like Takumi is creating this whole new visual language for Star Wars,
Right.
one that seamlessly blends with Japanese aesthetics.
It's this awesome fusion of East meets West.
I love
And
it.
it really speaks to how universal the Star Wars themes are.
Totally.
These stories about good versus evil,
Right.
hope and redemption,
Uh-huh.
they resonate with people all over the world.
And the fact that a Japanese artist is bringing his unique perspective to these characters,
Uh-huh.
it only enriches those stories.
Does.
Makes them even more layered and meaningful.
Absolutely.
Makes you wonder what other cultural influences could be explored in future Star Wars projects.
Oh, what's a fantastic question.
Right. The possibilities are endless.
They are.
Imagine a Star Wars story through the lens of ancient Egyptian mythology,
Oh, wow.
or inspired by the colors and patterns of traditional Indian art.
That'd be amazing.
Or even a story set in a futuristic African city.
Yes.
You could blend elements of Afrofuturism with classic space opera.
That would be so cool.
It's so exciting to think about how Star Wars can keep evolving and growing,
I know, right?
drawing inspiration from different cultures and perspectives.
Definitely.
And it looks like we're getting a glimpse of that future
Yeah.
with the new Celebration Japan badge art reveals.
Oh, tell me.
They just announced R2-D2 and C-3PO,
Nice.
Queen Amidala, Sabine Wren,
Awesome.
and Asajj Ventress are all getting the ukiyo-e treatment.
I can't wait to see those.
I'm especially excited to see Queen Amidala.
Me too.
She's such a regal and elegant character.
She is.
I bet her badge is going to be stunning.
Oh, totally.
What about Sabine Wren?
Yeah.
With her vibrant personality
Right?
and her love of art,
Uh-huh.
I bet her badge is going to be full of color and energy.
Definitely.
And then there's Asajj Ventress.
Yeah, the dark side assassin.
I bet hers is full of like menace and mystery,
Oh, for sure.
reflecting her complex and tragic character.
I'm so curious to see what details Takumi adds to each of these designs.
And two, he's so talented.
He is.
He's great at finding those hidden layers of meaning and symbolism.
It's clear he's put so much thought into these badges.
Yeah.
They're not just collectibles.
Right.
They're works of art
Uh-huh.
that celebrate both Star Wars and Japanese culture.
Okay, before we get carried away with predictions,
Okay.
we need to talk about something important.
What's that?
We've been gushing about Skeleton Crew and Takumi's art.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that the Star Wars fandom is huge and diverse.
Oh, absolutely.
Not everyone is going to love Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, that's okay.
And some fans might not like the badge art.
Right.
Others might interpret it differently.
Totally. And that's what makes being part of a fandom so cool.
It is.
It's about sharing those passions.
Yeah.
Having respectful discussions and recognizing that different opinions are valid.
Exactly. At the end of the day, we're all united by our love for this galaxy far, far away.
We are.
Now let's shift gears and talk about some broader implications of what we've been discussing. We talked about Skeleton Crew's blend of those old and new visual effects techniques,
Right.
and Takumi's unique style in those ukiyo-e badge art.
Yeah.
They both seem to point to a really cool trend in Star Wars storytelling.
Yeah, I agree. There seems to be a willingness to experiment,
Yeah.
push boundaries, and explore new ways of showing the galaxy far, far away.
It feels like Star Wars is becoming even more of a global phenomenon,
I think so.
drawing inspiration from cultures all around the world.
It's not just telling the same stories over and over again. It's
Right.
finding new perspectives,
Yeah.
new voices,
Uh-huh.
new ways of seeing this universe we all know.
And that brings us to our final thought for this episode of Star Wars Launchpad.
Ooh, I like these.
We've talked about the choices filmmakers and artists are making.
Right.
But what about you, the listener? What would your dream Star Wars project look like?
Oh, that's a good one.
Would it be a live-action film?
Ooh.
An animated series?
Or
A video game?
what
A
about
comic book?
creepy?
A novel?
So many options.
What kind of story would it tell? Would it feature familiar characters?
Or
Introduce new ones?
ooh.
Would it be set in a time period we've already seen? Explore a completely different era?
Ah.
How would you incorporate different cultural influences and visual styles?
Yeah.
Would you get inspiration from mythology, history, art, or music?
It's exciting to think about.
The possibilities are endless.
They really are.
So let your imagination run wild.
Have fun with it.
What kind of Star Wars story would you bring to life?
Who knows? Maybe your idea will be the next big Star Wars adventure.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Star Wars Launchpad.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
May the Force be with you.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
This AI experimental show we call a Flashcast has been brought to you by the podcast Star Wars Escape Pod. With AI being harnessed in all things across the galaxy, this is just a fun way we've used it to bring some Star Wars joy, news, and headlines to you ad-free as always. Consider subscribing to this show for more. Follow our main podcast with humanoids only over at Star Wars Escape Pod. We're currently found on YouTube, X, and Blue Sky using the handle at SW Escape Podcast. Check the description for relevant links and the sources for your news this week. Consider dropping a kind review for the show, reviewing any important facts for yourself, and sharing this with a friend. We hope you enjoyed the episode. This is Star Wars Launchpad, signing off. May the Force be with you.